A scary 250th birthday. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. You can't help but notice the timing as we approach our 250th birthday, an adage used by historians that empires rarely last longer than this, 250 years. And think about that as we look at our current landscape right now, because it is getting scary. A Marxist takeover of one of the only two parties in this country that actually matters, the huge popularity of candidates who outwardly hate the country and seek to destroy and rebuild it into a system that is destined to fail. We're going to celebrate this wonderful country for the next few days at a moment of peril. Democrats will likely take back power in the near future, and their most popular candidates are pushing to end the system that holds up this entire nation.
Wait to take the fight to Donald Trump and the oligarchy.
So are we ready to free Palestine? Are we ready to abolish ICE?
Solidarity is the force that we need to vanquish Trump's fascism.
We are calling for abolishing ICE.
I still believe that all deportations are wrong.
Do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism.
Oh, do you now? Even scarier, the people who are supposed to control the lunatic parade, which is what you just watched, are now submitting to it. Nancy Pelosi is gone. The party is roaring hard to the left. There's nobody in control. No adults in control, anyway. And that terrifies billionaire tech mogul Peter Thiel, who heard gasps as he leveled with a liberal audience at the Aspen Institute this week, telling them millennials are the first generation doing less well than their parents, and that is leading to a socialist takeover of the Democrat Party. It's a good point. He also said when the Democrat Party goes, this country is over. If we just have this economic stagnation, that's the road toward total catastrophe. And from reporting, we understand there were gasps in the audience from that liberal audience in Aspen, Colorado. That stagnation he's talking about comes from our major engines being stifled by the left, of course, which we're seeing. New York is run by communists. California, Chicago, very far left. These are our biggest engines. And we are limping along under overtaxation and overregulation, stifling our biggest engines. Thiel arguing the Democrat Party is more important in this country than the Republican Party, and he's right, because the Democrat Party controls our biggest engines. And the adults in that party are just letting it happen. Too busy getting rich like Congressman Ro Khanna.
Yesterday was a big night for progressives. Colorado shows a new generation of progressives like Milad are building a new and bold Democratic Party. It's time for the old guard to step aside. This is not an age for triangulation or obfuscation. We're in a moment of transformational change in this country, and I'm calling on our party to listen to voters demanding more from us.
No spine. No spine at all. Just going to fall right over for it. Ro Khanna will say whatever he's got to say to stay on the inside in Washington, of course, so he can continue to make thousands of insider trades in the markets with his wife's money. And then there's Zoran Mamdani here in New York giving us a sample, a nice sample of what the implementation of all these ridiculous promises that we've been hearing for the last several months as they've taken over, what it actually looks like when it happens, once they get power over the entire country. We're getting the sample in New York because we all know it sounds great, right? Mamdani hijacking billions of dollars from the state and then spiking the football, claiming that in just a matter of months, he's managed to fix all the ills of capitalism.
We raise taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers instead of taking more from those with the least. Throughout this process, I've been reminded of the words of the Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek. If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. If these past months have shown us anything, it is that socialists not only understand economics just as well as the capitalists who came before, but that we can solve their years of mismanagement through an embrace of our principles.
It's an utterly outrageous comment. Vickie Paladino, New York City Councilwoman, has a lot to say about that. Josh Hammer also with us, Senior Counsel at the Article 3 Project. Good to have you guys on this Thursday night. Vickie, we're going to start with you. You're on the city council. You have to deal with Mamdani every day.
Yes.
He has already fixed all the mismanagement of capitalism with that beautiful budget that he put together. Huh?
Yeah, $126 billion. He didn't fix anything. We, like I told you before, we budget by bailout. And what he did was he just went from Peter to pay Paul. This was an absolute travesty. You should have seen what was going on in City Hall that Tuesday, just a couple of days ago. Up and down in the elevators, trying to make deals. Julie, our speaker, and all of our council members caved. Everybody voted like they do with the federal budget. They don't even know what they're voting for, but they just vote for the hell of voting for it. This guy's he's got an agenda. He's on a freight train. He's going. And nobody's there to stop him. Like you said, there's no grown-ups in the rooms. There's no leadership. When I try to speak and give my objection as to why I'm voting no, down goes the mic. Off it goes. Okay, while everybody else got more than their 2 minutes, they shut me right down. And I nailed them on every single point by point. And they don't want to hear it. No. So, you know what? Put it on Twitter, went viral. Everybody enjoyed it. It is what it is. You deal with facts, you deal with reality. We are living in a place that does not exist in reality. This is totally, but the whole country is going this way.
That's exactly right. You know, Josh, to bring you in here, I mean, the arrogance of this young man, and again, this is the sample of what these socialists want to bring to the entire country, but they're driving all the capital out of New York. The revenue for the city will fall and is falling. And he says that he's fixing all the mismanagement of capitalism because he's stealing money from people in the rest of the state to pay for this big city.
Listen, Rob, there's a lot to be said on this, but I think the top bottom line thing that must be reiterated is that socialism and communism, which are essentially the same thing, this is the deadliest ideology in the history of the human species. That is actually non-exaggeration. The estimated death toll for socialism/communism is at least 100 million people. It is deadlier historically than fascism or any other kind of totalitarian ideology. These principles that Mamdani espouses do not end well. They end in the gulag. They end in the guillotine. They end in immiseration and bread lines. Rob, I've been to Cuba. I visited Cuba. Same here. I guess it was 7 years ago in 2019. I saw it for myself. You land at the airport in Havana, Cuba. You get out of the airport. You see all these billboards, the propaganda. They say "Socialismo es el futuro." Socialism is the future. You see the Che Guevara. You see the Castro. What does Havana look like? It looks like it's been bombed. There's destruction. There's rubble. There's stray dogs. You see this beautiful stretch of ocean where there could be resorts and casinos and five-star restaurants. And what is there? You see people who are shirtless and homeless and are trying to scrounge for every penny of their meal. It has led to failure and misery everywhere. And guess what, Rob? They're embracing it. And the fact they're embracing it, that could be Republicans' gain if Republicans are smart.
I remember seeing all of these local, when I went, I saw all these Cubans, and you had these internet cards. This was back in 18 when I went. And they'd buy these, they'd stand in line at the government offices and buy these internet cards in the morning for $1, and then they'd sell them to tourists for $2. That was their day of work. Everyone nobody had work. Everybody's sitting in a dump. There's nothing to do. There's no economy. There's nothing. It's terrifying. They want to implement that here. They tell us this is terrible, and that is the future.
The outrage that we should be having as citizens of New York City. Nobody's breaking this up. I don't understand why nobody is standing up. You know, we have a speaker of the city council. This budget should have went in the garbage. That's where this budget should have went. This never should have passed on June 30th. No. They didn't pass the state budget on April the 6th. They waited until the end of June. We could have held up this budget. Weaklings. And until people start to get a hold of this and the people of this city understand the road that we are on, only then will things change. But right now, with him at the helm, big trouble.
And just to get back to, you know, the demographics, Josh, of socialism are probably the most entertaining thing to look at when you see that. If we can go to take 7 here, guys. White, 85% pushing socialism. Hispanic, only 9%. Asian, 5%. Black, 4%. It's nothing. It's the dumbest, most spoiled, entitled white people you've ever met are the ones that are pushing this country right down the toilet, Josh.
So this is exactly why I think that this could be a huge opportunity for Republicans, because there's been this whole debate, Rob, as to whether or not the Trump immigration policy is going to repel Hispanic voters, which, by the way, I don't buy that for a second. But the easiest way to make sure that the very real Hispanic gains, the very real multi-ethnic working class coalition gains that Republicans have made in the past 2 or 3 cycles, the easiest way to make sure that this sticks is to emphasize exactly this point. I live here in South Florida. I am surrounded by Cubans. I'm surrounded by Venezuelans. I'm surrounded by people who fled this crap, who fled this because their lives depended on it. This is a golden opportunity for Republicans to message on this. Just message on economic freedom, on individual liberty, on entrepreneurialism, on prosperity. I'm not suffering through bread lines. Very simple.
That's exactly right. Vickie, real quick before I let you go, it's very hot here in New York, as you know. Mamdani, remember the warmth of collectivism. We're going to get a taste of that. He wants everybody to keep the temperature at, 78? Take a listen to this.
And to every business owner, please set your thermostats to 78 degrees to alleviate the stress on our power grid.
78 is not AC at all. 78 is what it is if you just close the blinds.
No, here's how it goes.
Yeah.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
How's that, Zoran?
Yeah.
No, I won't. And you know what? Everybody, set your thermostat wherever you like. This is your house. You own it. You live the way you want to live. Who the heck is he to tell us how to set our thermostats? Now, let me just back you up a minute.
Okay.
What's going on in Europe right now? They told them to do away with air conditioning altogether. So we're supposed to have faith that we're supposed to do by goodwill and follow these rules. Don't follow these rules. Break these rules. Because if we let them get away with this, the whole thing goes.
Yeah.
Stop it now. Stop it now.
Well said. Vickie Paladino, Josh Hammer, good to see you both. Thanks, guys. Thanks, disgusting story out of Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz pardoning an illegal alien child rapist to spare him from deportation. Yes, that's the story. This guy, Tu Luvang, was convicted in 2006 of repeatedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl, raping her for years. 10 years old. On one occasion, he tried to offer his victim $10 to keep quiet. When he was interviewed by police, he tried to justify his actions, saying in his culture that kind of activity is normal with girls as young as 12 years old, except his victim was 10. He told police the victim was just as guilty and he was, and the victim should also be arrested. Luvang was never imprisoned in that state, if you want to know how ridiculous our legal system has become. He signed a plea deal, no jail time for raping a 10-year-old girl over and over and over again. But he was set to be deported, and he begged the leaders of Minnesota for a pardon because, of course, he deserves one. He's such a wonderful person. And they were so touched by his story of this child rapist that they obliged, ensuring that he gets to stay in the United States after not going to prison for raping a 10-year-old girl. With that, we bring in Chris Clem, retired Chief Patrol Agent for the U.S. Border Patrol. Also, Julio Rosas, field reporter who has extensively covered the border. Good to have you guys here. Chris, did I miss any details of what is one of the most despicable stories about a guy that was almost the vice president of this country?
You know, Rob, that was just unbelievable that this governor would pardon such a horrific criminal. Instead of pardon, he should have been hung and quartered and buried underneath the very jail he should be sitting in. That is disgusting. And that is the problem when we have this, emotional, empathetic mindset that everybody is welcomed here. Not everybody is welcomed here when they can't assimilate and they allow these type of mindsets to exist where criminal behavior is accepted. Shame on Governor Walz and everybody that supports that guy and what he did. And that just is despicable.
It's surreal. Julio, it's on the left. It's almost like it's become a competition to see who can be who can destroy the fabric of society the fastest, the soonest, who can be the most insane. It's a competition to see who can get there first. This is a great example of it.
Absolutely. And that's why, cases like this is so disturbing, because then you see people out in the street, like we recently saw in Newark, where they were demanding that Delaney Hall be closed down. And they said they weren't just saying to free, people, children that might have been in there or old people. They demanded everyone in that facility to be free. And that included, and DHS listed out these hardened criminals that were being held at Delaney Hall. Right. So it's absolutely ridiculous, the point that we've gotten in this country where we had an open border for 4 years. We had problems with immigration before that, don't get me wrong, but we had an open border for 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. The Trump administration was voted in to solve it and solve it fast. And people are using lawfare. Democrats are trying to defund the DHS, and their foot soldiers across the country are mobilizing to attack federal law enforcement from removing these scumbags. It's absolutely crazy.
It's surreal. Chris, you were both witnesses at a roundtable on unaccompanied migrant children this week. The Biden administration lost around 400,000 kids. That's how much they really care. Not a single Democrat showed up. What did that tell you today?
Yeah, you know what, Rob, that was really disappointing. I actually, in my written statement, took a very agnostic tone because I was looking for an opportunity to have dialogue and solutions. I'm not a naive person, but we have to be optimistic and keep the foot on the gas to solve this problem. Yeah. The fact that the chairman and 6 Republicans showed up and were there, and even some of the Republicans that had other hearings came in and out to be able to be present, and not a single Democrat member of Congress in that subcommittee showed up. They had no witnesses. It shows you that they don't care. They only use children when it's to their advantage to sell a false narrative of family separation and we're doing good. They don't care about those that are being trafficked and harmed and exploited. And their absence yesterday was very clear.
You know, Julio, you hear all the time. They have, the Democrat Party has a sob story for every single policy that can be implemented from the other side of the aisle. They will find a sob story. They will manufacture one as fast as possible. But when there's actually a crisis, when there's 400,000 kids that are being trafficked or abused, when there's countless women being raped, when cartels are making billions of dollars off of their policies, they couldn't care less. Doesn't that tell you the whole story?
Right. And I mean, I remember I started my journalism career in D.C. during the first Trump administration. And what did we hear during that time? We've heard about the family separation and at the border, and that was around 500 families, give or take. We had almost 400,000 children that went missing under HHS, run by Javier Becerra, who's now currently trying to get a promotion to run one of the biggest states in our country.
And he's going to get it too.
Right, exactly. Again, it just shows how crazy people have become over this issue. And again, it's not like Trump woke up one day and said, hey, we're just going to carry out mass deportations just because. It was in response to a deliberate and horrific border policy that was championed by Biden and the Democrats as, oh, this is actually the humane, this is the compassion, this is
by
orderly.
A bunch of people that honestly belong in jail for what they did to this country and what they did to all of those people. It is surreal. Julio Rosas, Chris Clem, good to have you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. After the break, we're going to have a very interesting conversation on CIA mind control and brainwashing after a wild congressional hearing earlier this week. MK Ultra is the topic, and it's coming up. We've got an expert witness joining us. And then later in News from the Left, imagine saying this racially the other way.
Where the hell the Los Angeles Lakers think they going with a bunch of white dudes?
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
Hey, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. 250 years ago, a group of ordinary people made an extraordinary decision, and they never looked back. As Signal Relief, we call this Freedom Week. We're proud to be American, and we build our technology right here in the USA. And we're committed to protecting your freedom to move, to stand a little longer, to take the walk, to make the trip, and enjoy the day with your family. That's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back and lumbar support system built specifically for everyday backaches. Signal Core combines a comfortable compression wrap with 2 times the Signal Relief technology of our original patch. It's targeted drug-free relief you can wear through the day, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Order Signal Core today, and we'll include our best-selling Signal Relief patch absolutely free. Visit signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Samaritan's Purse is responding to the deadly earthquakes that struck Venezuela. On the 24th of June, 2 back-to-back earthquakes. Hundreds and thousands of people have been injured. Thousands of people are missing. The people are hurting. Samaritan's has taken a field hospital. We've got doctors and nurses, and we're responding right now to the people that have lost so much. We've taken water purification. We've taken solar lights, a lot of things. We need your prayers and we need your help. God bless you.
Welcome back. Talking CIA mind control and brainwashing after a wild congressional hearing this week. If you didn't follow this, follow me on this. MK Ultra is the name. If you haven't heard of it, it was a top secret illegal CIA human experimentation program. CIA gave unknowing human prisoners and hospital patients high doses of drugs like LSD, electroshock, and hypnosis. The CIA is wild. There's a quest to develop mind control technologies during the Cold War, potentially to brainwash enemy spies. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna chairs the Oversight Committee's task force on the declassification of federal secrets, getting all this out into the open, what we've been up to surreptitiously for all these decades. At a hearing this week focused on MKUltra, Luna put on the record that the CIA committed crimes against humanity. Take a listen.
Project MKUltra was not a policy failure or an overzealous program that got out of hand. It was a deliberate, systematic governmental operation that subjected American citizens, prisoners, hospital patients, veterans, ordinary people to LSD, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological torture without their knowledge or consent. This went on for 20 years on American soil, funded by American taxpayer dollars. These are crimes against humanity.
The hearing also heard from expert MKUltra investigators Tom O'Neill and Dr. Stephen Kinzer. Take a listen to this.
A group of African-American inmates was segregated and fed what were described in the protocol as double, triple, and quadruple doses of LSD every day for 77 days.
Can you fathom what it would do to you if you took LSD every single day for 77 days? Again, the CIA is wild. Another witness, investigative journalist Tom O'Neill, explains a connection between a CIA MKUltra doctor and Jack Ruby, who's the guy who shot and killed the guy that killed JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Jack Ruby, I believe, West examined Ruby alone at the jail cell and emerged to announce that in the preceding 48 hours he had had an acute psychotic break from which he would never recover. I believe that West was put in there to keep Jack Ruby from telling his story.
So let's unpack all this with one of the best guests you can get on it. Tom O'Neill spent 20 years investigating MKUltra after being tasked early in his career with covering the Charles Manson murders from the late 60s. He's the author of Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. Sir, it's good to have you here. Tom, what do the American people need to know about the CIA and about this program?
Basically, just that everything the CIA confessed to when the program was publicized in the 70s, when the press learned about it, was a lie, that they claimed that they hadn't, the whole program had been a failure. They'd spent 25 years and more than $20 million on a failed effort, when in fact the opposite was true. They actually created the technology to replace true memories with false memories, advance people in time so they didn't know what time period they were living in, and all that stuff was covered up and concealed. And to this day, 50-some years later since the last hearings.
You said advance people in time so they didn't know what time period they're living in. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the document that I found from Dr. Louis Julian West from 1956 reported that he had been able to implant false memories in people and remove true memories and make it fixed so they would never know that the true memories had been removed and replaced with false memories. And he also said he could make people think that time that had passed hadn't occurred yet and that they were living in a different time than they were. I mean, basically just taking over the whole thought process by taking control of their memory, which is the most precious commodity of a person, because that's what we rely on.
You always hear about the CIA, but you never, I can't even fathom some of these things. Talk about Manson and also Jack Ruby. What do we need to know? These are two major figures in our history that we all know. What do we need to know?
Well, chronologically, Jack Ruby came first.
Yeah.
So in April of 1964, the same psychiatrist, Louis Julian West, who had secretly worked for the CIA, developing the technology to manipulate people's memories, had also experimented with and told the CIA that he could induce specific mental disorders in people without their awareness and also make that fixed. So after Ruby was convicted in 1964 at his first trial in the killing of Lee Harvey Oswald, John F. Kennedy's alleged assassin, he was on appeal getting a second trial, and West was appointed to examine him, traveled to Dallas, and Ruby had originally been pronounced sane and competent to stand trial. After his 2 or 3 hours alone with West in a jail cell in Dallas, he had a psychotic break that he never recovered from, and West treated him until shortly before his death in '67. 2 months after West's first visit with him, Ruby finally testified to the Warren Commission, who had sent Earl Warren and Arlen Specter and Gerald Ford down there to take his testimony, and they had to halt it because Ruby was babbling incoherently, and he took Arlen Specter aside to say that he could hear or he heard the cries of Jewish children at night being slaughtered outside his jail cell.
I don't. There's no words to describe how strange this all sounds. And then I guess quickly, as far as Charles Manson goes, what would possibly be a connection there with the CIA?
It's a lot more complicated with Manson, but to kind of synopsize it in 30 seconds, Manson was released from federal custody in 1967 and immediately violated his parole, traveled to the Bay Area, and was basically an illiterate ex-con, 32 years old, who was an anonymous person, started going to this medical clinic in the Haight-Ashbury. And this same Dr. Julian West, who's like a Zelig, who pops up in all these historic episodes in the United States history, was recruiting subjects for another CIA project that he called the Haight-Ashbury Project. And Manson emerged from that clinic, from the Haight-Ashbury in 1967 as the monster that we're familiar with today, with the ability to get people to basically kill on command, which was the CIA MKUltra program's ultimate objective, to create Manchurian candidates who would be programmed to murder people.
Right. Are we still, I got 20 seconds left.
2 years later, Manson.
Yeah. Right, and then you had the killing.
2 years later, the horrible Tate LaBianca murders happened.
Right. You got that 2 years later. All right, real quick, in 20 seconds, do you think we're still doing these kinds of experiments and activities at CIA? Is it still this dark and bizarre?
Well, as I testified to the committee the other day, I don't know. I mean, I actually know that the CIA lied in '77 when they said they hadn't created any usable technology, and they had. So I imagine, if I had to guess, that they still have it and they're still using it. But I have no evidence of that, so I wouldn't say absolutely yes or no.
Man, I bet it's to talk about this kind of stuff, to know what you know. I'd be nervous walking around in a city like Washington, and that's where you are.
Well, you
right
need more than 5 minutes because it's a really complicated issue. But
you blew my mind anyway. Tom, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for opening our eyes.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Okay.
Coming up after the break, CNN's chief legal correspondent Paula Reed fleeing CNN to avoid Barry Weiss. But where she's going speaks volumes about this so-called reporter.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
He's still King of Candy, correct?
Yes. Okay. I'm Arthur Lee, inventor of LifeVac, the first and only FDA-authorized anti-choking device.
All these people you see, over 6,000 of them were saved because LifeVac was there when it mattered most.
Most people don't realize that on average, 14 people die every single day from choking. Every 5 days, one of those victims is a child.
Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your family with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Val. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Val.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top-rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 five-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
I was lying on the grass of Sunday morning of last.
Yummy.
Indulging in myself to feel
As if.
Fantastic.
That's what I've been saying. I got sand in my butt. I can't hardly walk. You steal my sunshine.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
You know the Founding Fathers. But do you know your founding family? Learn how their stories became yours. Get started today before our sale ends.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
You didn't use it to prepare hospitals. You didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now,
you're so disgraceful. It's so disgraceful the way you said it. Let me just listen.
The Select Committee investigating January 6th tells CNN that the committee could be sending out more subpoenas this week.
There are a lot of law firms who won't take him on. They're worried their bills won't get paid in terms of reputational damage.
He refers to Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, potentially two key witnesses in this case, as, quote, sleazebags.
There's not expected to be any cases against any individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein.
All right, so that's a look at CNN's chief legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed. Roughly 5 years after joining the network, she is leaving. Status, the outlet is reporting that she's leaving rather than stay with the company, CNN, and work for Barry Weiss here in the future, as that's been taken over by Paramount as well with the Warner's acquisition. Variety was first to report that Reed is expected to move, so she's going to leave CNN. She's going to go to MS Now after refusing a healthy new offer to renew her contract with CNN. So for years, CNN told us that this was another straight reporter, right? This was an honest broker of information. She's a legal affairs correspondent. Now we learn, like so many others, like Jim Acosta, she's just another left-wing propagandist, refusing to stay at a network that will no longer be allowed to lean hard left. They're trying to pull CNN back toward the middle. That's the plan from Barry Weiss, the ex-New York Times writer. Now moving to the rotting dumpster fire that was once MSNBC is where she's going to go. So she just can't work at a place that's not going to let her lean hard left. That's what it is. Variety reports Reed feels CNN's next era appears chaotic, but meanwhile, MS Now has put a stronger emphasis on harder news and enterprise journalism under its president, Rebecca Cutler. Well, here's what that looks like.
Well, if Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know? He's like a stupid person.
I struggle every minute of every day with platforming him. One, I should do it all day because it shows what a profound idiot he is.
SAVE Act, which is, of course, just another fascist brick in the prison that's being built around us.
What exactly are we celebrating? Is it a storybook version of America? I'm really going into July 4th, grappling with whether or not the ugly ghosts of our country have us by the nape of the neck.
Look at MS Now there. All right, Rick Leventhal, host of the Leventhal Report on N2. Alex Marlow, editor of Breitbart. Good to have you guys here. Rick, so out of journalistic integrity, she has to leave CNN because Barry Weiss is coming in. She's going to go to MS Now. She totally just gave up the game.
Rob, I have to be honest, I don't watch a lot of CNN, and I really appreciate the context of you providing those clips because it is a very graphic demonstration of just how biased her reporting was. And clearly she's scared that she can't do that again. The skewed reports that she was issuing on CNN, she won't be able to do it if they have new bosses. So yeah, she's going to a very friendly environment over MS Now, where she can say basically whatever she wants negative against the White House and the administration and get away with it. But wow, what a track record.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
And now I guess, you know, I would say, Alex, that there's a asterisk now on all of her reporting. You know, she had this image of being just a straight reporter. Well, now we see who she is.
Yeah, but thanks to places like Breitbart, Newsbusters, we've been covering her for years, and she's just been an across-the-board issue. She's ruthlessly tough on Donald Trump, from things like COVID to border and family separation and other sort of legal matter, the Mueller probe. She was just all in on every single issue. I can't think of one exception. So it's just noteworthy that she's announced herself, but I think it's really amusing what's going on at CNN. Rob, I'd call this from the start. I've never been a Barry Weiss fan. I thought the Free Press is a very small outlet that gets way more play than it's probably earned. Not a bad outlet, just small. Yeah. And she's a liberal. She's a liberal from the New York Times. She's just anti-woke, and she says a lot of the stuff people like you and me have been saying for the last decade, and she gets feted for it because she's a liberal from the New York Times. But I got to tell you, either she cleans up CNN and it's a positive for free speech, or it fails and it's fun to watch. And so I'm really enjoying this.
We'll see which way it goes. I want to talk about NPR before I let you guys go. They really blew it this week. The reporter, Nina Totenberg, publishing an article claiming that Justice Alito, Sam Alito, is going to retire. It was quickly retracted very fast, causing a lot of speculation about exactly what happened. Totenberg wrote an apology to Alito, saying there are no words to adequately apologize for today's error in reporting. Entirely her fault, she said, saying that she rushed out of the courtroom after the opinion announcements, asked somebody what was going on inside, to which she heard an answer of retirement announcements. She didn't hear the S on announcements, assumed something no reporter should ever do. She claims that you were retiring. NPR has not yet punished her, Rick, but there's some speculation that maybe she had a source that Alito was trying to flush out with all of these leaks in the Supreme Court, and now she's potentially trying to cover that source by saying, oh, I just made this mistake because I heard there was a retirement announcement, and then you published that as fact after the hearsay? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it is a very, very huge leap to go from someone telling you in the hallway that they were making retirement announcements to then assume that it was Justice Alito who was retiring, and then you're going to report that on NPR without confirming it with anyone, without checking your facts. You're just going to report that you assumed that it was a justice of the Supreme Court is retiring, and then you're going to go with it. Like, that is just not journalism, and she says she's been doing it for more than 50 years. That's more than a rookie mistake. That's just a mistake that anybody with a journalism degree would never make.
And Alex, it does make you wonder if that's not what happened. That's the excuse she's giving because somebody, a good source, gave her that Alito gave to them, trying to flush out who the leaker is.
Yeah, it's definitely not what happened. We have no idea what happened. And the question is, what is really behind it? Is this a genius political gambit of some sort by Alito or Alito's team to trap someone? I mean, that would be very cool if that's the case. Or it could be the worst case scenario, that there's some smoke to this, like that there maybe is something going on Justice Alito, along with Clarence Thomas, are the two greatest stewards of our Constitution walking among us. These are giants among Americans, and we can't lose them. It would be devastating if they did. And I'm afraid maybe there's some truth to it, but if there's not, there's just no way the story we're being told of how this got reported is real. It's just too big of an error.
Yeah, it's too bizarre. I agree with you there. Alex Marlow, Rick Leventhal, good to see you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
All right, how many hot dogs do you think you could eat in 10 minutes? You recognize this guy? He's up next.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
The Shady Rays Independence Day sale is live now with up to 50% off on all sunglasses. That's premium polarized sunglasses made to keep up with real life, durable, comfortable, and backed by lost and broken protection if life happens. Yes, really, we replaced lost and broken sunglasses, so the next time your day brings an unexpected surprise, we've got you covered. Get the quality your eyes deserve and head to ShadyRays.com to get your new favorite pair today.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
If you want to be ready for summer, now's the time to call Sonobello. Sonobello helped me target the spots that diet and exercise never could.
Sonobello gave me my bikini body back.
At Sonobello, our expert surgeons remove stubborn fat permanently and tighten loose skin in one visit with less downtime. Every treatment plan is personalized for your body, your goals, and the results that you want to achieve.
Walking around this summer with my shirt off, it's the best decision I've ever made.
I see my spark back, and I am so glad that I went with Sonobello because they have truly changed my life.
With over 50,000 five-star reviews, Sonobello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
I love wearing a bikini again and not having to cover up.
See what's possible for you. Schedule your free consultation today.
I got my summer body at Sonobello. Get your summer body back. Do this for you.
And our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call now or go to sonobello.com for your free personalized consultation. It's your life. Live it beautifully.
The Dutton Ranch. We're back in business.
You heard right. Let's go to work. I'm glad you're making friends, honey.
You're every bit as advertised.
You're damn right he is.
Fighting the good fight, buddy.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new Care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at Care.com.
How many hot dogs do you think you could eat in 10 minutes? Something you probably think about every 4th of July when we watch the contest through the haze of a patriotic beer buzz. The legend Joey Chestnut holds 17 career titles at the iconic Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest. Coney Island, I actually love to watch this every year. He's favored to win again this year. His personal best is 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I don't know if I could do 7 without losing it. He also holds 55 world records across other disciplines like chicken wings and tacos, and we're lucky enough to have Joey Chestnut joining us tonight, the reigning champ. He's with us. Good to see you, sir. Good to meet you. I'll ask you a question you've been asked 1,000 times, but how is this done? How is this done?
Oh my God, it's amazing. No, eating is the best thing in life, and competition's the second best thing. And so it's just it's competition and doing the best things. It's pushing yourself to new limits and just having a blast.
I mean, I admit that I watch you every year do this, and it's always fascinating to see. Do you have any idea how large your stomach is? How much you had to increase the size of your stomach? I assume, right?
Oh, I have a pretty awesome capacity.
Yeah.
It'll be when I do my little burping exercises. I can swallow air and then burp into a bag. It'll be about 3 gallons. And then my hot dog capacity, I've at home on practices I've gone up to 80. And so I know I have the ability to eat more. It's just a matter of doing it in that 10 minutes.
That's just, it's surreal. Let me ask you this. If we're hanging out and it's, September and we walk by a hot dog stand, would you get a hot dog? Can you even eat a hot dog unless it's a competition? Can you even look at them?
Oh, I love hot dogs. I'm a little bit of a hot dog snob. I'd smell, I'm like, oh, it smells like it's all beef. And then I look at it, the buns look soft.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of stale. I'll never dunk a bun outside of competition.
No.
I hate it. It grinds my gears when a bun splits.
Oh, yeah. When you eat a leisure hot dog, what do you put? Are you relish? Do you do mustard? What do you do? Sauerkraut?
Oh, I'm across the board. But my go-to is at home are raw onions and mustard. But dude, I put guacamole on sometimes. I love bacon. A chili cheese dog. That's a good wintertime dog. Oh, yeah.
It's so surreal. I mean, I can't even imagine eating that many hot dogs and never eating a hot dog again. That's crazy. This year, the contest is going to be on America's 250th birthday, as we know, recognizing the 10 most important events in American history, such as the signing of the Declaration of Independence. What does it mean to you to compete on a day as important as this?
Oh, it's amazing. It's the 4th of July. It's a beautiful holiday for Americans, and it's dude, competing in Coney Island, New York. It's electric, and I just can't wait. I'm excited, and it's just a magical place.
I feel like everybody watches this every year. Do you have any idea how many millions of people watch you do this competition? Because I feel like everyone I know watches this.
It feels like a lot of people watch. I'm really lucky. There's no pressure. It's all support. People are hoping I'm gonna come out with a crazy number, but it's 4th of July. We're eating hot dogs and watching fireworks.
I love it. And if you win this Saturday, how many is that for you?
Oh, it's number 18. It's I'm finally I'll finally be legal.
You're finally be legal. You're a machine. Joey Chestnut, thanks for jumping on with us. Good to meet you.
Great meeting you.
Be watching you on Saturday. Okay, good luck. Coming up here after the break, Stephen A. Smith. A hot take on the Lakers without LeBron.
Where the hell the Los Angeles Lakers think they going with a bunch of white dudes?
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. tax relief helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Samaritan's Purse is responding to the deadly earthquakes that struck Venezuela on the 24th of June. 2 back-to-back earthquakes. Hundreds and thousands of people have been injured. Thousands of people are missing. The people are hurting. Samaritan's Purse has taken a field hospital. We've got doctors and nurses, and we're responding right now to the people that have lost so much. We've taken water purification. We've taken solar lights, a lot of things. We need your prayers and we need your help. God bless you.
It was supposed to be the perfect gateway. Instead, it became an open door for cyber criminals. But that threat stops right here. Built by Americans for America. PC-Matic defends our homes, our businesses, and our government. Don't let them compromise your identity. Get our all-in-one solution today. Visit PCMatic.com.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Big sports news. LeBron leaving the Lakers, finishing the career elsewhere, location unknown at this point. That leaves the Lakers, though, in a very interesting position for an NBA team, something you never see, which is 3 white guys as the stars of an NBA team. Luka Doncic, I don't watch the NBA, Austin Reeves, and Walker Kessler. Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith had some thoughts about that I thought were rather funny. Take a listen.
Where the hell the Los Angeles Lakers think they going with a bunch of white dudes? Your 3 top players are white dudes? Really? This ain't golf. This ain't baseball. Hell, it ain't even soccer. What y'all think this is? It's basketball. In NBA history, when have you seen your 3 most prominent players on a basketball team all be white? You ain't going anywhere being led by 3 white dudes.
It's quite a rant. I actually like that rant. I'm going to root for the Lakers just to piss him off. And let's see how they can do. The 3 white guys versus the NBA. It's going to be pretty interesting. Next up, why are these liberal women so furious that the Supreme Court is trying to protect biological women in sports?
Hey everyone, Pramila Jayapal here, and I'm with my incredible colleague, Sarah Jacobs. We are the co-chairs of the Trans Equality Task Force, and we wanted to just give you our thoughts about the Supreme Court ruling today. Incredibly cruel.
I am just so disheartened and angry by what we saw out of the Supreme Court today. And I want every trans kid out there to know that there are people here in Congress fighting for you to be seen, to be respected for who you are.
So what's the messaging on this? The absolute decimation of the game of sport for countless real women and girls means nothing if we just simply have to protect the mentally ill cases of men turning into women and then dominating in sports. I mean, I can't believe that they're still this far on the wrong side of just reality. And they're just holding that position as hard as they can. Do their daughters, do they have daughters? They probably hate kids because they're liberal women. Do they have kids? Do they have daughters that play sports? Would they be happy if their daughters were just obliterated in those sports at the age of 12 by a guy? Would that satisfy them in some weird way? I don't know. Strange times. And finally, Hillary Clinton still angry over 2016, still going after the Electoral College. Take a listen.
You recently, I think, called for the abolition of the Electoral College, which would be a really good start.
Actually, I called for it in 2000. When I won my Senate race and Al Gore won the popular vote and lost the Electoral College, that's the first time I said, this needs to go because this is not reflective of one person, one vote.
Not reflective of one person, one vote. Hillary, the founders were smart enough to foresee that maybe there'd be a political party that would decide to just pander to the broad masses in the country that want free things and just bribe them with it by taking from the creators of wealth, which is always a smaller faction, right? That's exactly what Democrats do, of course. So they put some guardrails in place like the Electoral College, and I'm sorry that cost you your election and a presidency that you did not work hard enough for and did not deserve. Trump puts on the world's biggest fireworks show. Cue the media complaining.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Hey, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. 250 years ago, a group of ordinary people made an extraordinary decision, and they never looked back. As Signal Relief, we call this Freedom Week. We're proud to be American, and we build our technology right here in the USA. And we're committed to protecting your freedom to move, to stand a little longer, to take the walk, to make the trip, and enjoy the day with your family. That's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back and lumbar support system built specifically for everyday backaches. Signal Core combines a comfortable compression wrap with 2 times the Signal Relief technology of our original patch. It's targeted drug-free relief you can wear through the day, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Order Signal Core today, and we'll include our best-selling Signal Relief patch absolutely free. Visit signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court. For your free legal consultation, call 1-800-306-1979. That's 1-800-306-1979.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
My dad had never been in better shape. Then he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of us. Ethos.com, 10 minutes. 100% online.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
And finally tonight, the Washington Post ragging on Trump's massive fireworks show this weekend, saying the fireworks on the mall likely to cause hazardous air pollution. The show, billed by the Trump administration as the largest pyrotechnic display in history, will include some 850,000 fireworks, adding it typically causes significant pollution because it generates fine particulate matter that can penetrate deep into the heart and lungs, causing asthma attacks and other illnesses. A draft air quality analysis stating people should avoid prolonged exposure to the pollution around the mall because, of course, if the president's going to have a fireworks show, they need to find some way to turn people off to it, praying that nobody shows up, I'm sure. Finity's up next. We'll see you back here tomorrow.